This is the Inspection Pro Joe podcast, where we break down everything you need to know to grow a successful home inspection company. Join hosts Joey and Jake as they share insider knowledge and chat with the industry's best on how to take your business to the next level.
This program is brought to you by Pair Payments. Welcome back to Inspection Pro Joe, episode 24. Today we have with us Todd Chalfin, who is of Forward Traction. And Todd is an entrepreneur first. He's an 8-time business owner who now facilitates, teaches, and helps businesses grow with the EOS framework. So we're very excited to have Todd here today to build off of our last episode where we talked about going from solo to a multi-inspector firm. Here, Todd is going to introduce a framework that he uses from the book Traction, I believe, that is called the EOS framework. And we're very excited to hear about, Todd, what he's doing now, his experiences, and how you can implement this framework in your business. Hi, Todd. We're glad to have you.
Great to be here. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you so much, Todd, for being here. I'm so happy that you brought up the book Traction and that you're implementing it and that you're teaching people how to use it, because one of our inspector meetings that I was just at in Orlando, Florida, this book was circulated, and that's where I literally just heard of the book Traction. So I'm very excited for our business owners, those that want to make the leap, grow their business the right way, the profitable way. With Traction, I'm so excited for them to hear it from somebody who's an expert in this field, and this works out perfectly. So thanks for being here, Todd. I really appreciate it.
That's awesome to hear. I've learned a lot through experience in the School of Hard Knocks. So happy to share what I can and help your audience.
All right.
Yeah.
We love that. So as we just said, Todd is an 8-time business owner and he's an entrepreneur first. So Todd, we don't want the academic version of the EOS framework. Let's talk a little bit about your experience so that we can get down into the trenches.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, I've owned 8 different businesses over the last 25 years. Real estate, hospitality, software technology, and everything in between. And about 7 years ago, someone handed me this book that you referenced, Traction. And I put it on the shelf, frankly, because I was too busy. We're all busy, right?
All
I
been
don't have time to read another book or hear a new message. And I thought I knew it. I thought I knew how to grow a business, and something prompted me to take it back off the shelf and look at it. And, I realized for all of my driving of the team and all of my big ideas, I was getting in the way at times of what was possible for my business. We had been moderately successful, but we weren't really able to scale. And I realized that all businesses hit a ceiling at some point, whether that's at 2 people or 3 people or 10 people. And so I decided to try it. It really brought together all that I knew about running my small businesses in a complete framework. And if I were to say, what are the nuts and bolts, I like to refer to it as the glide path or guardrails to give you structure to fulfill on what you want out of your business. So we all have both personal and professional things of why we're doing what we're doing. And I absolutely love, Joey, your work in helping home inspectors to grow their business. And this is just one additional tool that provides a framework for them to do that.
Awesome.
So it sounds
that's great. I think the first question I have, because I haven't read the book Traction yet, is what is EOS for our listeners that they may not know what that is? What does that stand for?
Yeah, absolutely. So EOS stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and it's just a framework of simple, practical tools that are implemented over a period of time into a business. And it was started and cobbled together by a gentleman by the name of Gino Wickman, who wrote the book Traction. Fantastic guy, entrepreneur from up in Michigan. And he put these tools together over a period of time and then codified them into the book Traction. And I think what anyone who reads this and takes a look further will see that there's no magic pill or silver bullet. If anyone comes to you with that, they're run the other way. These are these are tried and true things that really work, and they work over time to help grow your business. And it really is like growing a muscle. It's growing your capacity as a team, as a leader, to really take on more. I love what was said in the last episode. I think Gary or one of you said in episode 23 that if you're having problems, it means your business is growing, right? Yeah. So how do you handle those problems? How do you become a bigger, better version of yourself to take on all those challenges that you come up against? And that's really what this is about.
That's awesome. I love it. So for those that may want to read Traction, or maybe that they don't have time to read it, what are 3 things that they can grab, or maybe 5 things that they can take from this book and really start implementing so they can grow their own business?
Absolutely.
What are the takeaways, I guess? What's the juice that people can take and maybe work on?
Yeah, I think this was helpful to me, and I'll share this. So if you've been a business owner for any length of time, I'm sure, like myself, you've seen a variety of different things out there that could help you with your business. There are things focused on what we call vision. There are things focused on what we call traction. And there are things focused on health of the organization. And we focus on all 3. So my statement would be this: if you just focus on vision, that's what I would consider a dreamer. You're dreaming. You can't just have vision alone. Vision is phenomenal. You need it, but vision is just a part of the equation. So that going away and thinking about over a weekend or over a day where you want to go with your business, awesome. The second component is traction. And you can't just have traction alone. That's about execution and discipline and process. I think processes and getting those shored up are awesome. But traction alone leads to burnout. You're just driving and executing. And then the final thing is healthy. Healthy means being an open and honest, fun-loving team that actually enjoys working together and being together. And but if you just focus on healthy, you're a bunch of people who love one another, but you're not really getting anything done, and you don't have a vision. So we do all 3 of those. That's kind of the takeaway in Traction. It focuses on vision, getting clear 100% on where you're going and how you're going to get there. It focuses on traction, instilling some accountability and discipline. So no matter where you go throughout the organization, people are executing on that vision. And then healthy, functioning as an open and honest, fun-loving group of people who really honestly enjoy working together. You know, life's too short. We better enjoy what we're doing and enjoy who we're doing it with. And that's really the commitment. And I love living that out each and every day.
I love that. I love those 3, because you know what's funny? You mentioned all those 3, and I'm thinking like, wow, I'm trying to improve each of those in my business right now. You know, because sometimes you get too caught up in the vision, and then you grow, expose your problems, but then you don't have any processes. So you have to develop those processes to kind of catch up. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, but the culture is suffering because we've had this rapid growth. You know, people are getting burnt out. They don't feel connected to you because you're not really focused on those team building activities that you should be. And so now you're playing catch up in those areas. So that, you know, I'm so glad you're here, because a lot of our listeners are that solo man shop. Maybe they have 1-2 inspectors. And so these are the things that you really need to focus on as your business grows from the beginning, not just afterwards, because I'm a visionary. So when we grew our inspection business, I was just solely focused on revenue, not even really profitability, not even like the numbers. It was just like, oh, grow. And I made tons of mistakes. You know, I always told people our revenue grew, but my income didn't.
Right.
Expenses just kept going. It was like growth like this, expenses and income that just went up together. And now that we're at a point, you know, now we're focusing on 3, and we're focusing on those the profitability and all that on the back end. So if you can get it on the front end, oh my God, you know,
that's
you build
it.
the foundation right. You don't have to go back and work on it and caulk it up. So
absolutely. Yep, you got it. And I think there's some specific things that we lay out, which are called foundational tools that help you get that foundation. So Joey, what you were talking about when you were focused as the visionary, which is it's a great trait to be a visionary, but visionary without structure creates a lot of, as you mentioned, burnout and angst in the organization because you're always driving for more. And I think this will make sense. Most of us that have had businesses, we've started out with one or two people, and you're in a room together or you're on Zoom together and you're able to collaborate pretty well. And you need that initial energy and getting out of gravity. But as you grow, that turns into the kids following the soccer ball in elementary school or toddlers around the field. Like everyone's kind of clumped together, and you need some type of structure to bring that apart and have clear roles and responsibilities and really grow into the vision that Joey, you have for the organization. So, or any of us have. So it's not to say that those initial days aren't great. We outgrow them, just like a human outgrows the adolescent period, right?
Yeah. And so does the book, does it talk about this, the different phases of growth and how you combat those potential problems that you're facing through growth and through increasing number of employees and developing leaders and all that goes into that?
Yeah. It really, what I appreciate and it meant a lot to me is all the things that we've heard in business are really, really important, right? Core values are important. Focus is important. Having a vision is important. Getting the right people is important. Processes are important. All those things are important. What I found that usually is lacking, we know all those things. It's not that we don't know all those things. It's the last mile. It's the last mile of execution. How do I, as a business leader, really execute on all those things and keep those plates spinning, so to speak? And so, to your point, yes, it hits on all those different areas, but it really helps you in the trenches with that last mile. Because it's one thing to sit at home or take some notes. It's another thing to be in front of your team as a leader, articulating the vision, getting the processes in place, start measuring data, right? How are we doing? And creating some, for no pun intended, traction in the organization and momentum and energy. And it's a virtuous loop. People thrive off of that when you really do it right. So this is really a way that I found to create the quickest impact in the shortest amount of time, because none of us have time to get off the court. We're in the trenches running our business. How can we incrementally over time, it's usually about 18 to 24 months, implement a system that can help us with these guardrails, with a structure, and grow our people. One of the things that we can touch on later is people and what leadership is, and a little bit about that. So I'd love your thoughts, Joey, on how you've developed leaders and a conversation around that, because that's a super important piece of this.
Yeah, well, I think communication is key. And I think you brought that up just a second ago, because if you can't articulate something and communicate it to somebody effectively, it's like the game telephone. They hear one thing, but they didn't hear it the right way. And I think that's leadership. I mean, when you're developing leaders, it's, making sure you're clearly articulating to them your vision, clearly articulating them what you want them to do, and make sure you're on the same page. That's one of the things I think that I've kind of struggled with, as you develop some leaders under you is, they know what I want, but if I'm not clear and really, really specific, it doesn't get done the way that I envisioned. And so but that communication in every aspect of your life, whether it's a relationship, a team relationship, a business relationship, are so key. And it's one of the toughest things, because you're dealing with different types of people, different personalities, and I think that's probably one of the main components when you're developing an organization and especially you're growing, because if I tell my general manager, for example, I tell him, what I want done. Now he's going to go off and he's going to take that information. Now he's going to tell 2 other people what he wants them to do. And they may take that and they may tell the one person to what. So by the time it goes from me to Lenny to Rochelle to an inspector or client care coordinator, the message can get downplayed. Like, and I'll give you an example that one of the things we always told our inspectors, they can't wear jeans. Well, if I am as the CEO and my general manager is the general manager is in the office wearing jeans, what kind of message does that set to the inspector?
Absolutely.
They're going to copy what we do at typically a lower level at which I do it. So if I'm lackadaisical about it, of course they're going to be lackadaisical about it. So immediately we've actually just said, we're no longer wearing jeans in the office. Khaki pants, a polo or a button down. That's it.
Got it.
You want to set the tone, right? So it's
that's
all
really
those little
great.
Things.
Yeah, as goes the leadership team, so goes the rest of the organization. And someone said to me once, and it really made me sit up and take notice, that you are radically in charge of your business. All the great things that happen in your business, congratulations. You created all those amazing things. And I was like, woo!
Yeah.
And then they said, guess what? All the problems and challenges in your business, you created all those too. Good job, right? So
you're like, oh.
we just gotta have sometimes we need a mirror in our face to see that. And this structure provides a really, really great mirror. One of the key points to me about leaders and how I've seen great leaders of small businesses work well is, instead of trying to manage, motivate, manipulate people, they manage the system and let the system do the work. So if we as a team are all bought into the system, that's why franchising works so well, right? Yeah. So you manage the system, and it doesn't mean it's impersonal. You actually automate the predictable so you can humanize the exceptional pieces of your business. And you need to free yourself up to really focus on your unique ability. And I heard that said before by, I think, Gary or you in the last episode. Unique ability is key as an entrepreneur. When you start out, you got to do everything, but we don't want you doing everything when you're growing to 10, 20, 30 people. We want you delegating and elevating to your unique ability. So really key to manage the system. I refer to it as building the clock.
Yep. I love that.
And you probably heard that analogy, right? I think it might have been Jim Collins or someone that came up with that, building the clock versus telling time. So many of us are sitting there telling time. So everyone has to come to us and say, what time is it, Joey? What time is it, Jake? Rather than having a system, a clock that tells time for you and whether you're there or not. And that's the ultimate freedom as a small business owner.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love that analogy too.
Yeah,
it's so true. We all want to run. I think that's the goal. If you're a true business owner, you want your business to run with minimal effort from you as the business owner, and that way you can make real decisions. You can have task division. You can have your people that you can delegate to that can implement the plan that you have. And I think we talked about Steve Jobs last time too. He wasn't an engineer.
Yeah.
He was a visionary and who had engineers that did what he wanted, and he was very tough on them.
Yes.
Yes. And that's
absolutely.
And I think that's our whole goal,
Yeah. Well, and I know as a business owner myself, if you're like me, it's hard to let go, right? It's hard to let go of the vine. You certainly want to make sure you surrounded yourself with the right people. I'm sure many of us have let go and found out, I let go at the wrong time. It wasn't the right person. And then that makes you a little cautious and hesitant to let go again. But that's the real way to do it. And what happens in a business is the owner-founder's DNA is baked into the culture and the systems of the business. That's the ultimate. So you mentioned Steve Jobs. His fingerprints are all over that business, right? he continues on inside of that business because of who he was and how he led and his vision. And that's the ultimate, that we want to build an enduring business for our family, for our legacy. And that's exciting to be a part of that.
Yeah, it really is. That's awesome. I love it. I love that, our listeners are hearing this stuff, because these are very valuable things that, a lot of our inspectors, you got in business because you like doing the inspection. And then you realize, wow, this is a vehicle that I can grow. And we may have never owned businesses before. So we don't know this, especially if you're not really, going through your personal growth journey. If you're reading, if you're listening to podcasts, if you're not doing those things, you need to be, like you said, a lot of us feel like we don't have time for personal growth. You need to make time, because your business will only grow at the level that you do. And as you start growing, your weaknesses will be exposed. How you treat your employees, do you have the same vision that you had a year or 2 years ago? Those are things that constantly need to be evolving, because your business is going to evolve. It's not going to stay the same. I'm not going to teach my kid to walk. He already knows how to walk now.
Right.
What's next? What's the next? And it's the same thing. Time moves forward, and you got to keep evolving with the times and changing, and not be stagnant.
Absolutely. Yes. And and that's something that different people are comfortable at different levels of. A visionary like you, highly creative and innovative, right?
Yep.
And then there may be other business owners who are more detail oriented, in the trenches, execution operators, I would call them, and everything in between. And all of those are phenomenal. Every business needs every type of person in the right seat to grow the business. So one of the things we talk about is how a visionary can partner with someone who's more of an operator, what we call integrator. And that partnership really fuels the business. There's another book that we've written called Rocket Fuel at EOS Worldwide that outlines that relationship. And it really is powerful, because a visionary alone tends to grow the business very quickly, 30, 40, 50%, but they burn people out and the business starts to implode without some type of structure. An integrator alone, an operator, will grow their business at 5%, steady Eddie, steady as she goes, which is great. But the combination will grow a healthy, sustainable business at 20, 30% and beyond, year over year over year, because they complement one another. And the integrator can filter all those great ideas of the visionary and say, great idea, but not this year. Bad idea, great idea. Let's do that next week. And they can prioritize all these great things. And so that's a powerful concept, the visionary integrator relationship.
I love that.
It's kind of like your right-hand person.
That is so true.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like this framework is also a very valuable tool in having like a standardized way to communicate. Metrics to look at, and just a perspective. I do like that.
That's a good way to put it, Jake. It really is a common language framework. It's not that we don't have vision as an organization, or we don't have an idea of our processes. It's just that we're not all aligned. So this gives you a way to get them all aligned. And if you're hacking a trail through the jungle with your machetes, you can hack all you want, but if no one climbs the tree and looks out and says, where are we going and how are we going to get there, then that path is going to be very zigzaggy. And this cuts the learning curve for that.
I love that. I love that we're talking about priorities and complementing each other, because, as the visionary, I have goals in mind that what I want to reach to. And my director of operations is very process and, has a lot of to-do lists and all this stuff. And when I was looking at her to-do list yesterday, I'm like, a lot of this is busy work. It's not getting us to our goal of 3 million. It's not getting us to profitability. It's not getting us to growth. And so that's communication issue, right?
Yes.
Because that's me not clearly articulating the vision and what's actually a high priority and what's not.
Yeah.
If it doesn't complement the vision, then it's probably a low priority. And so for those that are process can feel overwhelmed because they think they got to do all these little things or prioritize that aren't getting us to the goal. And so literally like a couple days ago, I bought these big giant whiteboards where we're saying priority list. And then it says, that we're actually working on this and then completed. And so we can all go into each other's offices and say, all right, what are his top priorities? What is Rochelle's top priorities? What is Lenny's top priorities? Oh, is he working on it yet? Is it completed yet? And sometimes based on the weekly meetings that we're having on Fridays at the end of the week, some priorities that you thought maybe a top maybe move based on how the communication that you guys have within your leadership team.
It's dynamic. Yes.
So, but it's so true because it's so easy, guys, to get off track. And I'm so glad you brought that up, Todd, because these are challenges that I face as a business owner that I'm constantly trying to improve within my organization.
Yeah.
And but it's never ending. Don't think because you had one meeting that communication is going to be clear. It's an ongoing thing that you need to, and I think that's what rocket fuel kind of explains, right? It's like a rocket ship goes up, and it's going towards the moon, but it needs constant adjustment because if you don't do those constant adjustments throughout, it's going to be way off.
Absolutely. That's it. And, Joey, something that's so important for all of us to understand is there's certain things baked into our human nature that we need systems and structure to overcome, meaning people usually can't stay focused for more than about 90 days, sometimes less than that, right? So we need to, as you mentioned, prioritize, make sure we keep the circles connected and are rowing in the same direction so that we can accomplish what we need to accomplish. The other thing that's just part of human nature that we need to acknowledge is procrastination. So we get excited about things, but then we get busy. We get into habits and patterns and we put off those important but not urgent things. And all of a sudden, it's the end of the quarter and we scurry to try and get that done.
Yep.
Well, you can't battle against that. You need to put a system in place that just helps you with those normal things of life.
Yeah.
So just don't think you're going to hire superhuman employees that are going to not procrastinate and always be accountable, because guess what? I'm not, and you're not. So we need a system. We need a system to help us. So this is really about being honest and not trying to be more than we really are, but really growing out of our passion and who we are at our core. And that's what's super important, right? Usually myths get created about people, whether it's Steve Jobs or somebody, and they're all phenomenal people. But I'm telling you, everyone listening and watching, have a passion for what you're doing, and you have the ability to grow and impact your community, your employees' lives, your family, and your relationships far beyond where you're at right now. And so I'm rooting for you in that, and I've seen it happen over and over again, and it's really exciting to see.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
And I want to add too, for our listeners, don't be afraid to start over. I think sometimes we get to maybe you grow to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inspectors and you want to change, but you're worried about what your employees might say, maybe your inspectors might do. Don't be afraid to lose them. If you're going to make fundamental changes to your business that are going to, make the foundation solid so you can grow even past where you're at, don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid, because business, you're always going to have problems, and don't be afraid to back down and start over. And I think that's one of the coolest things when you grow a business. There's that safety net where, okay, I know that worst case scenario, I'm going to have to go back as the owner doing inspections, but don't be afraid of that. Don't let that stop you from growing or stop you from making fundamental changes that'll help your business grow drastically. Not that we want that 20, 30% growth year in and year out, because that is attainable because other companies are doing that.
Yeah.
And they're doing it the way that Todd's talking about.
Yeah. One of my favorite things to remind myself of is the fact that I want people to be in the right spot for them, whether it's my employees or my clients or my family members. And specific to employees, if where you're headed is not where they want to go, you do not want to force them into that. So to your point, Joey, about starting over, you as a leader just need to articulate that vision and make decisions for the greater good of the business. And I guarantee you the right people will come along with you and follow you. And the wrong people, doesn't mean they're bad, they're just not aligned with your vision, will get off the bus. And you actually want that. I think there's a tendency to hold on to things because, oh, he or she is the only one who knows how to do that. Well, guess what? There's millions of people out there that you can train to know how to do that may even be a better fit with your vision and where you're headed. So don't tell yourself those lies, as you mentioned, Joey, that I can't start over, or I've got to keep these people. There's no one else that can do it as good as them. You want the right people with you, and you want to create oxygen for the organization to really grow.
All right. So on that note, we're going to take a quick ad break to hear from our sponsor. And then when we're back, I want to talk a little bit about going from the abstract to the concrete with this. All right.
The home inspection industry is highly competitive, and you need an edge to stay on top. You certainly can't afford to give profit away for no reason. But what if I told you credit card processors may be overcharging you and robbing you of profits you've worked hard to earn? It's time to put an end to being overcharged for payment processing. It's time to take back your profits. That's why we've put together a free report, How to Avoid Being Overcharged by Your Payment Processor. Head over to takebackyourprofits.com, download the report, and put an end to being overcharged for credit card processing. You've worked hard for your sales, and you deserve to keep it. What are you waiting for? Go to takebackyourprofits.com and download your report today.
All right, and we're back. So Todd, just for our listeners to really get the theory in its totality and bring it from the abstract to the concrete, I'm wondering if we could walk away with a few takeaways here on some actionable exercises or processes that someone can shut off this podcast and go implement right away.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll share some things that I did in my businesses as I implemented this process. And I want to tell you, Jake, that it's a journey, right? That you don't have to do it perfectly, but really where I started was around people. And there's all sorts of great tools around people, but practically what I looked at is the term, are they really the right people? What does that mean? What is a right person to my organization? And those right people are people who fit the core values of the organization. So do they taste it, smell it, feel it, touch it, right? These are the kind of people you want to surround yourself with. And I took inventory and I said, do I have the right people? That was the first piece of it, meaning do they fit our values? And as great as some people might be, if they don't fit your values, they're going to tear the culture apart little by little. So I immediately took inventory on that. And it doesn't need to be complicated, right? This is part art, part science. There's a little bit of gut and a little bit of science in this. Then the second piece of people for me is making sure they're in the right seat for them. Mm-hmm. So when you're a small organization, you're all kind of wearing multiple hats and you're moving like the kids with the soccer ball and toddlers, and you start to put some structure in place. So what I did is I stepped back, and the important thing that helped me is to take a structure first, people second approach, meaning think about your organization for the next 6 to 12 months, clean slate, not who you have on board now or what it looks like now, but where do you want to go? And then build the right structure, meaning the seats and the functions in your organization. So I need an operations person. I need 3 inspectors to handle our workload. I need someone in charge of finance, handling the money coming in and out of the organization. I need someone on the sales and marketing side. These may be part-time people, they may be fractional people, they may be full-time people, but getting that structure in place first and then putting the people in the seats is magic because you're not just grabbing from what you have, you're doing a clean slate view, and that really helps you get to where you want to go. And I bet the structure that I had in place from year 1 to year 3 was not the same structure I needed from year 3 to year 5 and forward. So that was a real helpful tool for me. Structure first, people second, getting what I would call seats are just job functions. And it's kind of like an org chart on steroids. The important thing when you do that is make sure you only have one person in each function or job. That's what drives accountability. So I had a couple roles where I had people sharing roles and 2 people were in charge, and it just creates a lack of communication and accountability. And I thought he was going to do it and she was going to do it. So you really, as you grow, want to start driving that accountability. So put one person in each seat. It doesn't mean that you or others can't be in multiple seats. It just means only one person can be in each seat. So that's a little bit on people, the core values, and the in terms of the right person, and then the right seat. And I think the final thing I would mention in terms of a tool is make sure people want it. I think there's a hesitancy, especially in this job market, to try and sell people on your company and bring them in. And you really got to state your core values in a way, and I think you all get this, that scares the wrong people away. So you want to say, hey, we're a group of people that we work hard. And you tell a story about how you were at an inspection site till 10 p.m. at night one job because X, Y, and Z didn't happen, right? And you let them know who you really are. Like, we work hard together, we love winning, we go above and beyond, and you scare them away, and the right people will be like, Joey, I love that, that's amazing. And the wrong people will be like, no thanks. And you're saving yourself a lot of headache by scaring them away early on. So use that.
Exactly. And you know, if you're hiring somebody, they should be convincing you why you should hire them.
Yeah.
Not, you shouldn't be convincing them why they need to come work for you.
Right. That's it.
If you're convincing them, that's the wrong side to be on.
Right. Yeah.
They need to be telling you why they would make a good fit for your company.
Yeah. And
you can't want it more than them.
Exactly. I really look for very specific, detailed examples when I ask them a question. The more detailed they can be in their answers, the more real, they're being in terms of, how did you do X, Y, or Z? And if they can tell you very specifically, then you're golden. You've got someone who's solid there. So ask a question and then listen to what they're saying. And a lot of us as owners, we talk a lot, right? So we got to step back and just listen to them, and you'll know.
Wow.
I love that.
This has just been an incredible episode. I can't thank you enough, Todd, for being on here. If there's one thing you want to leave our listeners with, what is it?
I would leave you with this. When you think about your business, everything that you're thinking about in terms of the vision for your business is possible. It's just not all possible at the same time. Mm-hmm. So you've got to sequence it and structure it in such a way. And I think, especially in our culture, we tend to overestimate where we can be in a year and totally underestimate what can happen in 10 years.
We want that instant gratification.
Get that vision out there, get the right people around you, stay the course, and get a framework to communicate and collaborate and align, and you'll do phenomenally well. We live in an amazing, amazing place where a lot of things can happen with the right people and the right tools, and love what you guys are doing. Joey and Jake, I appreciate you having me on, and look forward to just continuing to collaborate together on some things.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely have to have you back on. I mean, I see this episode being listened to multiple times by multiple people. And, this is an episode, guys, just based on the information that I've gotten, I'm going to go back and listen to because it's just so valuable. Everything that we talked about, I literally, as we were pre-talking before our podcast, I did order the book Traction because I haven't read it. I am going to order the book Rocket Fuel. I suggest that you guys, if you haven't, go read it. Based on everything we've talked about, it's just, this is valuable stuff that's really going to help you grow your business effectively. So thanks, Todd, so much for being on here and introducing our audience to this system, the EOS system. Tremendous. This is awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Good to be with you.
All right. Thank you very much, Todd. That was a very profound follow-up to what I thought was a fantastic episode last week. And I can't wait to see you guys back next week. To our audience, we have some more guests coming on. But Todd, thank you very much. And we will definitely be having you back on.
Great.
All right. Thank you,
Take
guys.
care.
Thanks for listening to the Inspection Pro Joe podcast. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the bell so you won't miss our next episode. This episode was produced by Jake Aronson. This has been a Pair Payments production.